Okay, welcome to my Counting Worksheet Generator review. Now, alongside this video, I'm going to be talking more about how you can get early access to my 4 live 1-hour group calls that are going to take place over the course of an entire month. So this is going to be a beta test that is only going to be accessible by people that purchase the Counting Worksheet Generator software through me during its launch period. On top of that, the other bonus that I'm offering is going to be my 6-step launch formula video course, which is going to be based entirely around launching the book that I've created with this app, which of course you're going to be able to see as well. So the video in its most basic form is going to be a full review of the Counting Worksheet Generator app. So we're going to go into all the pricing, all the features, everything that you need to know. And then from there, toward the end of the video, we're going to talk about this mega bonus with the 4 live group call chats, the video course, the book reveal. Everything is going to be included toward the end of the video. This is going to be, without a doubt, the biggest and craziest bonus and the most dedicated bonus that I've ever made for any software. So make sure you stick around for the entirety of the video to check that out. So the Counting Worksheet Generator app is going to release at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the 18th of August, which is going to be the start of the launch period where the prices are reduced, and that's going to end on the 21st. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the software, I just want to do a quick overview video before you make any kind of purchasing decision. I just want to go over a couple things that I think are important. So the primary function of this app is that it allows us to create a variety of different activity pages for a younger audience in the early education niche. And just so you can see what you're working with here before we go into more details, let's just go and take a quick look at the app in its most basic form. Okay, so this is the interface that we're working with, and these are the type of activity pages that we can create using the software. So like I say, I'm going to go into much more detail with the different types of pages that you can create. But for now, just wanted to take a look at what the interface looks like and the type of audience that you're going to be targeting with these pages that you can create. So obviously, these are going to be geared toward younger children. And for me, what I'm going to be using this for is to include these inside of bigger activity books that are geared toward preschool students. But there's a ton that goes into this. There's a ton of different settings and features, and we have all the standard kind of drag and drop and resize fonts and blah, blah, blah. All those things are going to be covered throughout this video, but that's just a quick look of what you can expect to find inside. So just to touch upon something else very quickly before we move into the full review. Yes, you can create these pages yourself using Canva. You can create them using PowerPoint. You can outsource someone to create these pages for you. The point is, and the emphasis is always put on the functionality so that you don't have to deal with the tedium of doing these things yourself. So that's not something that I want to keep on pressing and pushing toward people as being the main reason to buy the software. The main reason that I want people to buy this, the only reason I want to, is if you find a reason to use this in your publishing business, because there is going to be a ton of hype. There's going to be a ton of sales page hype and rubbish going on. You have to ignore it, because this app, it serves its purpose like any other app. It serves the purpose of what you can see on the screen coming up. That is what it does for you. It's not going to help you instantly get wealthy and make tons of sales. It's here to serve a purpose. What will help you, I can promise you, is the bonuses that I'm going to be offering alongside this. So the first glance here, just my first impressions are that this is much less complicated than any other software this company has produced. There's way more value in the front end, which is great to see. And just to clarify here, what I'm going to be using this for, and you're going to be able to see, is that I'll be using this for parts. And this is the opportunity that I'm looking into. I'll be using it as parts of books in bigger niches like the preschool activity books. So with that being said, let's go ahead and cover absolutely everything. You don't want to miss anything in this video review, because of course we have all those bonuses toward the end as well. Let's take a look at all the various versions and make sure everything is crystal clear before you make any kind of decision. So let's get right into this now and talk about the front end version. So this is typically shortened to FE. So because there are so many different functions and activity pages that you can create in the front end this time, I'm just going to go over a ton of them and just show you the type of pages that you can get, the type of pages that you can create using the software. So the first 4 that I'm going to be going into are the count and write, the counting types, the count and circle, and the count and color. Let's just take a quick look at these now. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly because, like I say, the front end version has got a ton of different types of pages and a ton of different type of those layouts that you can produce. So let's just go through these quite quickly and take a look at a few so you can see the quality and the functionality of the software. So we have the count and write here. Obviously the child has to go ahead and count the number of images and then write down how many there are. So of course these can all be changed in the settings here. You can change the amount, you can change the width, you can change the columns and rows, etc, etc. Okay, but we're going to go into that in a separate part of this video, but let's just keep going through so you can see the different pages that we can create. So let's take a look at the counting types pages here. Now this increases the difficulty of your books when it comes to your child filling these out, So again, you can regenerate all the data here and do all those good things with every single page that you create. Okay, so let's just keep going and take a look at the count and circle. So we have 6 of these going on here. Obviously the child needs to count how many there are, circle, etc, etc. So we have a load of different layouts. And for example, just to quickly touch upon some of the settings here, if you didn't like the size of the icons, you can go ahead and change that inside the settings option here. So let's just go ahead and ramp up the icon scale here. We're going to update that. Obviously that doesn't make sense because it's clipping on the side here, but that is what you would do when it comes to making your pages look beautiful. So in this case, where it wasn't looking quite accurate, you have to go ahead and change the grid item height, as you can see that I'm doing here, to accommodate the images, etc, etc. We're going to look at that again in other parts of this video, but there's loads of those ones that are going on. And let's go down into the next section here where we have 7 different types of count and colors. Obviously a child counts them and colors them in. It's self-explanatory stuff. It's one of the most simple apps I think I've reviewed here, but still, you know, the power and functionality here is still pretty obvious. Okay, so we've got the color and count that we can include inside our books, and this is great to have. Anything that involves color means that we can position our book in, you know, in terms of being able to get ranked for different keywords that involve color, for example, as well. Okay, or coloring in, should I say. So as I go through this video, we're going to talk more about the value ranges that you can change, which is ultimately going to increase or decrease the difficulty of the page that you're working on. So just quickly, for example, if we change the minimum and maximum values here, we can update that, and that's going to be reflected in the sheet here on the right hand side, as you can see. Okay, so that's 4 down. Let's go ahead and take a look at number ordering. Let's take a look at missing numbers. Let's take a look at 10 frames. Let's take a look at skip counting as well. So let's go back into the app and take a look at them. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the number ordering. So again, this is all self-explanatory stuff as to what's happening. Obviously the child needs to go ahead and fill in the blanks in terms of the order of the numbers, etc, etc. Pretty obvious stuff, so I'm not going to get stuck on that for too long. The same with missing numbers. Again, it's self-explanatory as to what is actually going on here. Obviously each of these has the ton of customization as well, and we can regenerate where the missing values are as well for each of these pages. And with skip counting, we have quite a few different layouts that we got going on here. We have 8 different layouts that we can work with these skip counting type pages. So again, it should be pretty obvious as to what's going on here. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, for example, 6, 8, 12, and the child obviously just has to fill in the missing numbers, which is referred to as skip counting when it's presented in this type of style. And just a couple other of the styles that we have going on for the skip counting here. We have this kind of horizontal layout as well. And then we have the 10 frame section here. Now underneath that, you probably saw the counting blocks, which is kind of the most unique section, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But this is the 10 frame stuff here that we have going on. So again, it's all counting related activities that you can include inside your book with all the different settings, etc, etc. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last type of page that is being offered inside of the front end version, which is the counting blocks. So we have 3 different sections, 3 different types of blocks that we can create. Now at the time of recording this, I believe this is not finished because there is a pretty incredible feature that is being included and is going to be added into the software. I don't know when. I assume it's going to be very soon. But what it's going to allow you to do, if I just zoom in very quickly, is once you've created your cube, so again, obviously this is going to be a counting activity, what you're going to be able to do is to click on this, and it's going to bring up another section where you're going to be able to rotate on the screen. Inside the app, you can rotate the image until you have it facing the way that you want it. Okay, so it's a pretty incredible feature. Really didn't think that they were going to be including this inside the front end version. I've just spilled the beans on what they're going to be doing, but that is a pretty cool feature. And you can obviously update all the rows and columns, and you're going to be able to do that with whatever you produce. You can rotate all of these in one etc., etc. So you can have the angle that you want to present it inside your book. Again, it's one of those things that you would probably have to spend a long time creating yourself. Okay, so from here inside the front end version, as we can see, we have 50 element icons that are going to be included inside the front end version as well. So that's going to lead me to one of the bigger features of the front end version in just a second. But what I mean by 50 elements included is that all these kind of preset icons that you can see here, they're going to be included in the front end version of the software. So there's 50 of them throughout the entirety. Let me just bring this one back so you can see a couple more of these. There's going to be 50 of these included throughout the entirety of the front end version, which is going to lead me to one of the biggest features of the front end version is that you have the option, and they don't usually do this with the front end version, you have the option to upload your own images into the software 10 at a time. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick example of that in just a second, but you get the 50 elements in the front end version, but you also have the ability, and this is what I'm going to be doing, is using my own elements to create pages like this. Okay, so that is the main appeal for the front end version for me, is that I can put all my existing assets into the software and start creating these type of pages out of my assets. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how that works now. So let's say, for example, that we have this style of page here that we want to add our own images into. What we can do is come across to the left hand side here to the counting elements section, and we're going to go ahead and upload our own icons as they're referred to. So bear in mind, with the preset, the 50 preset icons that you're getting, this is not a case of being able to just introduce them anywhere that you want. They're all kind of built into the existing templates. Okay, so the ability to upload your own like free moving icons is in the upgraded version, but inside this version, the front end version, you can include your own icons that fit into these templates. So that's going to make sense as I go through and do this. So let's say that we want our icons that we've created ourselves, or we've outsourced or got from whatever resource that we found them from. We can go to the upload icons section here. It's going to bring up this menu where we're going to go ahead and click and drop the icons into this section. So I've just gone ahead and uploaded these birds into it. These aren't my images, they're just for the sake of demonstrating what this feature can do. We're going to go ahead and click on upload. Then what we can do from here is to go over to which page we want to add them into. We're going to come up onto the right hand side here where it says select items for grid. We're going to go here, we're going to go all the way down past the 50 preset items. We're going to select the ones that we want to include inside the template that we've created. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the birds. We're going to go ahead and apply that, and that's going to drop them into this template here. So of course we can go ahead and regenerate that the way that we want it. And of course we can do that in a variety of different pages that we have. Okay, so that's a pretty powerful feature that is included in the front end version. So let's try another example with this type of page, but this time we're going to go and use two different types of icons. So we're going to go ahead this time, we're going to scroll down and pick the red one, and we're going to pick the whatever color that is there, okay, green or blue. So let's apply that, and that's going to go ahead and just apply those two types of images into the type of template that we selected. And from there, of course, all the existing features still exist where you can go ahead, you can drag and drop, move it around, do all those good things, but this time you're doing it with your own images. And what you can do if you want to choose just one section, so for example, if I just wanted to include vehicles, what I can do is select all of them by pressing on the 10 icons button here, apply that, and it's going to just apply the vehicles into this section. So again, all about efficiency. Alrighty, so that's the uploading your own elements, and I should have touched upon this, but there is a 10 icon limit per time that you do this. Okay, every single time that you upload, it's going to give you a limitation of 10 icons that you can do at a time. Okay, so that doesn't mean throughout the entirety of everything you create, it just means you can only do 10 at a time. Okay, so for example, if I had loads more bird pictures, I could only do 10 of them at once, and I could go back, do another page, upload another different 10, and keep going from there. Okay, but bear in mind that's the limitation that is in the front end version. Okay, so let's move on to the finer features now, and the reason I want to cover these is because they're going to be present throughout the entirety of the software, no matter which version you get. So I think it's best to include these now. So the uniform size feature is something that's going to save you a lot of time when it comes to resizing your icons if they don't fit the way that you want them to. So for example, what we can do here, where we have these images where there's a lot of white space within each section of the page, what we can do is come up to the right hand section here that says toggle uniform cell sizes. We can click that, and then what it's going to do is going to fill out, as you can see here, it's going to fill out more of the box with more of the images so it doesn't look stupid and weird. And again, after you've done that, the changes, they stick. So once you regenerate the data, it all stays with those changes in mind. Okay, so let's go over some of the settings now. So of course we can change the difficulty and control the numbers. We've got the regeneration option, which we've been looking into as well. We've got the one-click clone pages. Okay, so let's just go over a couple of these here and use some of the existing pages as examples to show you some of these fine tuning settings. Okay, so the cloning the page is self-explanatory. What you can do is just come to this section here, click on clone page. It's going to clone the exact layout of the page that you do it on, as you can see here. But what it's going to do, it's going to generate different type of images inside that. So you can keep on cloning and cloning and cloning until you have as many pages as you want. So you can clone, it's going to keep on duplicating those images, the layouts over and over and over, and again you can keep regenerating them the way that you want them. Okay, so from here we have the solutions. Now that's obviously a very important part of creating these type of books. Let's just quickly demonstrate how that works. So with these type of pages, some people are going to want to create the solutions as it kind of exists within the template. So what you can do is come over to the settings and go ahead and show solutions and do things this way. But what you are probably going to want to do in order to optimize the amount of pages, because the more pages that you have, it would be crazy to have like tons and tons of pages this size. So what you can do is use the solutions button here, which is like their smart solutions, which is going to save you tons of space. Therefore, you're going to be able to actually publish your book at a competitive price. Okay, so let's go ahead and generate solutions here. And what that's going to do, as you can see here, is generate the solutions in such a way where they're all going to be kind of included in the sort of optimal amount of space, so you don't keep taking up page after page after page, thus adding to your printing costs. Okay, and of course that is going to get added to the end of the book that you're creating. Okay, so you have the solutions page here, which has been generated for all the existing pages that you're working on. Okay, so one other thing that we have here are the one-click questions. Let's take a quick look at them. So again, it's just another time saver here, and this is going to be it's going to be custom to whichever type of page that you're working on. So for example, if we're working on this one here and we want to have a question included on top of this, so for example, what we can do is view the related question button here. Go ahead and click that, and we can select from one of two different types of questions here. So count the different types of objects or count the number of objects for each type. Okay, so I think I want to go for this one here. That's going to introduce that straight in there as text that you can change. And again, it's one of those things that it's just going to save you some time. So you can do that for any type of page that you're working on. It's going to know which page it is. So for example, if we're doing it on this page here, we can come up to the view related questions, and it's going to know which type of page that you're working on. So we don't have to really think about how we're going to word these things. So write the number that comes after. If we don't like where it's placed, obviously we can move it around, etc, etc. And again, it's all about saving time. You know that by now. Let's try it on this one here. Fill in the missing numbers. It knows exactly which one it is. It's just these little features that add up to saving time. Okay, so we get 100 downloads per month. Now there's always a little bit of confusion as to what that actually means. So that means you get 100 times that you can click the download button, not 100 pages. Okay, so if you create 100 pages and you click, let's do the example again. If you create 50 pages and you click the download button, that is just one download. If you create one page and you click the download button 5 times, that's 5 downloads. Okay, and with the front end features and all throughout the rest of the software, there's obviously commercial usage, or you wouldn't be able to use it inside of your books. You got the other settings that you can go into: the shuffling, the trim sizes, the page numbering, the margins, the text. There's over 900 fonts that you can add into this. We have the Control-C and Control-V, so copying and pasting, which I don't think has been in the software before. So for example, if you wanted to copy and paste these a few different times, you can Control-C and you can Control-V, 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 and again, it actually does pretty That's pretty handy. So you can create these type of pages pretty quickly. And of course, it's going to generate these randomly again. So you could just regenerate each of them if you wanted to, etc, etc, again, down to functionality. And within the front end version, you're going to be able to download these as PDFs, PNGs, and JPEGs. So alongside all this, there's training videos and a Facebook group that the company provides themselves, nothing to do with me. And that is pretty much it for the front end version. So just to touch back upon some of these settings that you're going to find that are going to be consistent throughout the entirety of the software. On most pages, you have your standard settings here, so you can go over to whichever template you want to edit. Come to the left hand side, you can change the grid item width, the grid item height, so you can create things the way that you want them. You can change the value ranges here, so you can increase or decrease the difficulty, as you can see here. If I just go ahead and make this number a bit more drastic, you'll see that it changes that down to a lesser amount. Of course, it's still using the images that we selected. Obviously, using a colored one there doesn't make sense. And we can change the number of types we have involved. We can change all sorts of things like our grid stagger strategy, which I don't really know what that actually means. So it's basically just going to be changing the layout. You can change all these different things, the stroke width, all these little customizations that add up to creating something that's pretty unique. We can change the padding, we can change the space in between. Let's just go ahead and increase that. So let's make that a little bit bigger so we can see what is happening with these changes. And of course, we touched upon the icon scale here, so we can increase that, we can decrease that, and we can change the question icon scale so we can make these bigger. Okay, obviously that doesn't make sense because it doesn't fit. We can make them smaller, which again doesn't make sense, but we can do all these things and we can create basically the page that we want to look the way that we want as well. And we can change the question answer columns up and down. There's loads of features here. It would take me too long to go over these. The border style, you can change all this. You can change it to a rounded box. You can change all sorts of things going on in here. Okay, so the only things you don't really get are the kind of color settings because that's not included in the front end versions. So again, I'm not going to go into all the settings here because there's just going to be tons and tons and tons here. And it's something that you just have to know that there is pretty much an unlimited amount of customization that you can do with pretty much most of the pages that you put into your workbooks. Okay, so that's all for the front end pretty much. I think I've covered everything noteworthy there. So let's move on to OTO number 1, which is typically referred to as the Pro version. So bear in mind with these upgrades, no matter which upgrade you get, you have to have purchased the front end version first. So after you've purchased the front end version, the one that we've just covered, you can go ahead and choose whichever of the upgrades, if any, that you want from there. So for example, you could get the front end version and pair that with whichever upgrades you want. So you could skip OTO 1, you could skip OTO 2 and just get number 3, or you could buy OTO number 1 and OTO number 2. You can do whatever you want with the combinations of the upgrades, but it has to be paired, all of it has to be paired with purchasing the front end version first. So with that in mind, let's take a look at OTO number 1. And again, what I'll be doing is logging into a separate version here that just shows the front end plus OTO number 1. So one of the main features here for OTO number 1 is that you get unlimited downloads, whereas in the front end version, you're only able to click the download button 100 times, whereas it's unlimited in the OTO number 1. From here, the other big feature is that you can upload your own images. So this is not the same as being able to upload your own icons. With uploading your own images, you can have the free flow to do whatever you want with your images inside the software. So just a quick example now. So I'm in an account here that has the front end version and OTO number 1. What we can do is come to the uploads here, and I've already done it, but you can go and click on the upload, take whichever images that you have and introduce them into the right hand side here. So let's select these, insert them, and then of course we can do whatever we want. And typically what we'll be doing is to introduce them alongside whichever activity page that we're working on. Okay, so for example, if we had something like this in here, we can add the elements alongside this to create the pages the way that we want them, etc, etc. That's just a mess, but you understand the functionality here. Okay, so from here we have some additional types of number line and premium skip counting pages that we can create. So as I mentioned before, in the front end version, we were somewhat limited with the type of skip counting that we can produce, but with these we have much more flexibility. I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so I'm just logging into a version of the software that has the front end version and the OTO number 1. So as we can see here, we have the new number line activity pages in this version. So these are just placeholders because the coming soon images here are just placeholders because at this point they've not updated it, but they are actually still here as well. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what we can do with these type of number line pages. So let's just add a few more rows here so I can showcase what we can do inside this. So whereas in the front end version we were limited to the amount, the numbers that we can skip by, in this version what we can do is come down and we can select the sequence type here, and we can change this to skip by the number type, skip by the number. So for example, if we want to skip in nines, we can update that, and that's going to skip in nines, as you can see here. If we want to skip that in fives, you can see 20, 25, and of course the child would obviously need to go ahead and fill in the 15, the 10, and the 5, or whatever it is. And let's just try this as an extreme to see how high it can go. 24, for example. Obviously that would be for a much more advanced student, but typically these are going to be a little bit lower. But there's tons of flexibility here in terms of these number lines that you can create. So let's just take a look at the other versions of these that we have in OTO number 1 as well. Let's just delete that. I'll just take a quick look through these ones here. So we have the common difference setting that's added in that one. We have, hold up just a second, we have this one here that I've not actually explored yet, but they're all going to be pretty self-explanatory. Let's just add a couple more here. So this one here, for example, we can go ahead and we can do the same thing, and we can skip by the numbers. We're going to change this to skipping by 8, and it's going to do the same thing here, where the child has to go ahead and put in the missing digits, and of course it's going to be relevant to the sequence type, as in this is going up in 8s. Okay, so that is that. Let's go ahead and just see. I can see which ones they have here because of the placeholder images, but we have some blank ones I think as well that we can work with. And let me see what other ones we have. That one, and we have this one as well. Okay, so there's tons of different options here. Again, there's no point in me going through all of these because there's just so many that you can play around with. But basically it just adds a ton more of these type of skip counting, which I guess is going to be pretty important when it comes to early education books. And all these have the usual different customizations with the colors we can change here as well. This wasn't mentioned, I don't think, in the document that I was reading regarding what's in each subcell, but we can change the different tick sizes and things like that to really customize what we're working with here. Okay, so from there we have the counting skip word problem worksheets that you can create as well. So that's another section. It's a different section to the one that we've just looked at, but let's go ahead and take a look at these word problems now. Okay, so as you can see here at the bottom we have the counting word problem. Let's go ahead and add these in here. So what we can do is, if we just quickly come over, now this is where the settings for these type of pages are going to become more powerful. So what we can do is change the values here that we're working with. So for example, let's change the value range and the multiplier range as well. So that's maximum this at 300, that's min this at 50. The multiplier range, let's go for 2 and a maximum of 10, and we can go ahead and update that, and that's going to be reflected in these changes, as you can see here, relevant to what we've just put into the software. Okay, so again, tons of features. I'm not going to go over them, but you can customize these, make them look the way that you want, etc, etc. And I'm just going to test to see if the answer thing, the question thing, still works. Can you count and write the answer, solve the word problems and write? I think that is correct, isn't it? Solve the word problems and write. Yeah, that's correct as well. Okay, that's good. So the question things is still working throughout the entirety of the new activity pages as well, which is great. So from here we have the additional download option, which is the PPTX. So I think, I don't use PowerPoint, but I'm pretty sure that is what PowerPoint uses, which is the PPTX file. It's not a big deal for me because I don't ever use that, but for someone I'm sure that it is. We have the color palette options. I thought this was just for the text, but it looks like, as you just saw, that I can change the colors in this version of the software for some of the number lines as well. So I'll just quickly show you the text that we can change. So what we can do, and just to touch upon the different types of font here that is mentioned in the front end version, let's go ahead, select these and just do a quick, I'm going to use my favorite Annie. Use your telescope type of font here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to increase the size of that, and we're going to change the color of this to blue as well. So you probably wouldn't want to use this for KDP. I guess maybe this is like a more of a printable Etsy type of pursuit, but whatever, it's there. So those are the color palette options as well. We have the bulk clone feature, which is probably going to be a big time saver for some people. So let's take a look at that now. So let's say that we have this page here and we want to bulk clone this 20 times. What we can do, just scroll up here and click on the bulk clone button. That's going to bring up this page here. Let's go ahead and say 30 times, and we're going to clone this page 30 times. It's going to go ahead. It's created, as it says, 30 clones of this page. I believe it adds it to the end of the book. As we can see here, we have all the different clones that stay in the same format as the template that we selected. Okay, so from there there's a delete all pages option, which is being coded as a feature. I would disagree. That seems like a pretty standard feature. I think that should be in any version, but you have the option to delete all your pages in one click, which is this button here. You can delete all the pages, so whatever. Okay, that's that. But yeah, that's the primary functions here of OTO number 1. So the main thing here is you're getting those sort of number line, the skipping, counting activity things that you can create and have more flexibility with as well. Okay, so that moves me on to OTO number 2, which is being referred to as the premium version of the software. So basically inside this you get 100 premium handcrafted layouts, and this is going to be delivered in such a way where 50 of these images are delivered now and then 50 within the next 3 months. So a lot of people are going to be very interested in utilizing these pages for their books. I'm going to show you why. So I've just logged into a version of the software that just has the front end version and OTO number 2, which introduces these premium handcrafted layouts. As we can see at the bottom, as you can see, we have 50 of these that are going to be in the software now, and then 50 later on. But basically what's happened here is that the company that creates these apps, they've got a design team that has created all these images, but they've done it in a way where they've implemented some of the functionality of the software as well. So for example, what we can see is that we have these missing number activity pages, but they're being implemented into the images themselves to make these pages much more fun and interactive for people that are going to be filling them out. So of course, as you can see here, when we regenerate the data, it all stays inside the illustrated image, which is pretty awesome. So I think this is self-explanatory as to what this is, but the appeal here is obviously going to be the images. So I'm just going to go through a few of these so you can see the quality of these images and just regenerate some of the pages so you can see how they look. Okay, so just going to regenerate some of these here. So as I go through these, I'm just going to try and answer a concern, and I think it's a pretty valid concern here when it comes to duplicate content. Now, if you're going to be using these elements, which yes, of course you do have the commercial usage too, you're going to want to make sure that with anything like this is that you customize it the way that you want to introduce new items into it. So for example, if you had this page here, which this one I'm probably going to use inside my book, is that you can complete it here inside the software, then you can download it and then add different elements into it elsewhere. Okay, so very important that you do that, or if you have the other upgrade, you can add your own images into this. But you know, for the sake of just moving on, there are loads of these, and yes, they do look very nice, but please, if you do use these, make sure 100% that you are making them 100% unique. Okay, and again, this lends to the opportunity to create these as kind of coloring in pages as well. So anything, like I said before, where you can position something as a coloring page is definitely valuable for your book positioning as well. So I'm just wondering if the questions do work. Fill in the missing number and color the page, so that works there as well. So there's loads of these. I wish I could go through all of them because they do look pretty nice, but you get the picture as to what this is. Okay, so let's move on to OTO number 3, which is being referred to as the elite version, which is going to be 500 illustrations that you can use inside the app itself. So I'm going to show you what that means now. Okay, so I've just logged into a version of the software that is just the front end and OTO number 3, which is these 500 different illustrations. So by that, I think what it means is that we have 250 different icons that we can use as kind of free floating images. If I just show you very quickly what I mean by that. So this is the kind of free floating image that I'm referring to, that you can resize, reposition, etc, etc. Okay, so there are, I believe, 250 of these in all kinds of different categories that you can add into your pages to make them even more unique. So the other side of the 500 illustrations is the other 250 that can be used inside the actual templates themselves. Okay, so I believe that these had to be different files in order for this to work, so that's why it's being referred to as 500, not 250, but I think they are going to be the same images. So if I show you what I mean now, if we just introduce this type of worksheet into the application here, what we can do when we come over to the select icons for grids, so remember that we had those 50 before for the front end version. What it's going to do now is add all those additional icons into this section as well for you to choose from and create your pages out of. Okay, so let's just go ahead and use some of the new ones here and just create a quick page using these, just some random icons here. We're going to apply these. So again, these aren't the free floating ones, they're the same ones, but you can just add these into the template. Okay, so we're going to apply these and it's going to create your templates out of, it's going to create your work pages out of those new icons. Okay, so that's a total of 500, which means it's basically 250 that you can use either free floating or inside of the templates like this. Okay, so there's a few different sections here, and I'm not one that personally uses the asset packs, but they do become quite appealing when they can actually be introduced into the templates like this. So again, this is something that's down to you entirely. If you see the value in this, that is OTO number 3. So let's move on to the pricing now. So before and after the launch is obviously going to be a different price. We're going to go over that now to make sure there's absolutely no confusion. Okay, so I have the pricing up on screen here. Now what I'm going to do in the pinned comment on this video, there's going to be timestamps that you can refer to. So if you've forgotten what is included inside a certain version of the software, you can go back to that pinned comment and you can click on the timestamp and see what you're getting with each version of the software. Then come back to the pricing to see how much that costs before the launch, during the launch, and after the launch. Okay, so the launch price for the front end version is $47. After the launch, the price goes up to $97 for the front end. OTO number 1 is $67 during the launch price, during the launch period. After the launch period, it goes up to $97. OTO number 2 during the launch period is $97, and after the launch, it goes up to $147. The launch price for OTO number 3 is $67, and then after the launch, it goes up to $97. So bear in mind the launch is between the 18th of August and the 21st of August. So please make sure you are absolutely 100% crystal clear with which version you're getting and what the prices are now and what they're going to be after the launch period. Okay, so let's talk about the big bonus that I'm going to be offering with this software. Now, like I said, this is the biggest bonus that I've ever offered with any software that I've been promoting. So let's talk about that now. And the first two steps, the first two things that we look at here aren't even the main bonus, but they're still going to be pretty mind-blowing. So the first is going to be my 6-step launch plan video course. Now, I'm not someone that releases courses. It's not something I necessarily believe in because I don't think courses are as helpful as people think. And that's why what I'm doing here is really laser focusing on my 6-step launch plan. But what I'm going to be doing is pairing that alongside, I'm going to be working this around the preschool activity book that I'm creating using this software. So you're going to be able to see that entire book and how I launched that book using my 6-step launch plan. Okay, so there's going to be quite a lot that goes into that. And after talking to a lot of people over the last few months, what we're going to be looking at doing is looking at getting your book ranked for various keywords. We're going to take a look at using test periods to make sure that you don't overspend on advertising campaigns. We're going to take a look at all these things that go into launching a book so that you can increase your chances of getting found on Amazon, obviously increase your chances of making sales without spending too much money on advertising campaigns. That's the big draw to the sort of launch plan that I've created here. Okay, so with that in mind, the big bonus that I'm kind of offering for the first time officially here is that we're going to have 4 live 1-hour group chat calls over the course of an entire month. So obviously that's going to be 1 per week. So let's just talk a little bit more about this now, because I know a lot of people have been super interested in doing this, and I'm going to be basically beta testing this with people that buy the software through me, because this is something that I might do going forward, but this is basically going to be the beta test. So again, this is going to kind of work alongside the 6-step launch plan. It's going to work alongside being able to actually reveal the preschool activity book. So once I start launching that, we can start doing the live chats. Okay, so inside the live chats, if you want, you can create your book alongside mine. So over the course of the month, you have something to ask me each week. You can do that inside it. If you're not sure about which title to be using for your book, which keywords to be using, what strategy to go for, etc., etc. All these things you can do alongside the creation of my book as well, because you're going to be able to see all of this inside the Facebook group. You're going to be able to see all of this inside the launch plan, the video course. It's all going to work together so that you can kind of basically have me every single week to ask me questions. Okay, so if you want, we can have general KDP questions and chats as well. And if you also want, we can have feedback on your book. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm structuring this just yet, but if you want to have a review of your book, as in for me to give you feedback on what I think about what you can change with your book, or what you think, what I think you should change with your titles, your book covers, etc., etc. I'm happy to give all that feedback before or after your book has gone live. If you're not happy showing that off, you can just send a private message to me and I can review that pretty much live on those chats, so no one else has to see your books. Okay, and like I say, this is going to be 1 hour chat every single week for the entire month. And we did this once before in one of the other case studies that I did, and we went way beyond 1 hour. It was pretty much non-stop talking the whole time with tons and tons of questions. I think there was like 30 people in there. So what I'll be doing this time is just to have a little bit more structure to things. Okay, so we're either going to do it in a way where we have a topic every single week. So we might have the first week might be dedicated to the launch strategy, for example, and we can talk a little bit about that, but we can also have the general questions included alongside the topic of the chat as well. Okay, so it's going to be structured. It's going to be a lot better than last time, but it's going to be super exciting. You basically have me for all your questions live. And like I say, these live group chats, you do not have to participate. You don't have to have your microphone on. You don't have to have a webcam on. Nothing like that. You just be able to sit and ask a question in the text. I'm going to go ahead and answer it for you, etc., etc. And like I say, this bonus, all of this is going to only be offered during the launch period, okay? Because the 6-step plan, that is something that is going to be sold down the line for a more expensive cost. And obviously the live group chats, this is all available at any version of the software that you get. So if you get it during the launch period at $47, even the group chats on their own are going to be extreme value for $47. Okay, that's an entire month that I'm sort of setting up to work with people, to work alongside people with their books in their publishing journey. Okay, so like I say, this is accessible to everyone during the app launch period, which is between the 18th of August and the 21st of August. Outside of that, this is going to be kind of that beta test. It's going to end. I might never ever do this again. I don't know. And that's why I think this is such a great bonus. I think people should jump on. And like I say, this is going to be available no matter which version of the software that you get. So $47, you're going to be able to get the 6-step launch plan. You're going to take a look at my preschool activity book and how that all works together. You're going to get those 4 live group chats over the course of the entire month. And like I say, we'll have the Facebook group as well, so I can interact with people more frequently in between the groups, arrange when the calls are going to happen, etc., etc. So that, in terms of getting access to that, all you need to do is send me your receipt for the software to my email, which is going to be on screen now, and it's also going to be in the description below. Okay, so once you email me that, everything's going to be sorted. You don't have to worry, and that's going to start toward the start of September after this launch. Okay, and just to give some additional comfort to anyone that doesn't really know me or watch my channel too frequently, I'm someone that's been doing KDP for a very long time. I've published books. My most successful books have been published in 2023. So everything that I talk about in the launch plan, the live calls, it's going to be completely up to date in 2023. And as you can see in this year so far, from just 10 books, I've made nearly 30,000 sales from those books and the strategies that I talk about inside the bonus. Okay, so if you want to pick my brain on the live calls and talk about everything involved with these numbers, we can do that. We can talk about anything every single week for a month. Okay, so that's the bonus that I'm going to be offering. Again, just to reiterate, this is during the launch period. After the launch period, when the prices go back up, I'm not going to be offering the group chats anymore, or the 6-step launch plan will become a separate product in the future. This is going to be the absolute best time to get involved with this. No pressure whatsoever. I don't care if you're on these calls or not. I'm looking forward to doing it. But it is going to be a hell of a time, I can promise you. And also, just one more thing, if there are more people expected on these live calls, I will make sure 100% that every single person has enough time to ask the question, to get feedback, etc, etc. So if I have to break it into 2 groups, I'll do that. But whatever, I'm completely dedicated this next 30 days or so to these live chats and everything that goes into these bonuses. Okay, so that is it for this video. I'm sorry that it's been so long. I hope it's been worth it for you. I hope I get to see you inside the Facebook group and the live chats, and that you enjoy the software and you use it for your publishing business. All those great things. Remember, price goes back up. No pressure. Please don't feel like I'm ever pressuring with anything like this. This is just a fact that the price is going to go back up after the launch period, which is between the 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern time and finishes on the 21st of August as well. Okay, so that all works alongside the bonus not being offered after that point as well. Anyway, that's it, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.